Okay. My name is Czerwionka. I'd like to welcome all of you today. I'm an associate professor of Spanish and linguistics here at Purdue University. And I'm welcoming you to the second event in the speaker and discussion series called Engineering Through a Humanistic Lens. This is a speaker series that has been brought together through some collaboration between the School of Languages and Cultures, the Office of Professional Practice, and the Global Engineering Alliance for Research and Education. In other words, the GEAR program. And it's also been partially sponsored by the National Endowment for the Humanities. I also wanted to thank the colloquium organizers for letting me participate with them in organizing the conference and in bringing together the special collaboration this year. So this event is called How to Move Forward with Integrating the Humanities and Engineering in Open Discussion. So we invited various representatives from institutions that are working on programs or that have programs that unite the humanities with engineering. So we have representatives from Auburn University, Tracy O'Brien, Bob Karcher, and Dean Hendricks, from Missouri University of Science and Technology, Shannon Fogg, from Purdue University, I'll be presenting with Niall Peach and Joe Tort, and from the University of Rhode Island, Sigrid Berka, Megan Echevarria, and Bing Mu. So our plan for today is we'll use the first 20 minutes and each team will talk about their perspectives for a few minutes. And then based on those perspectives, we're going to go to breakout rooms for about 10 minutes. And in this idea of open discussion, it's a place where we want to come together, draw out new ideas, and really use it as a place of collaboration. So as an audience member, and if you're from one of the universities who's starting us out as well, we are all part of this audience. And so your goals for this are to try to synthesize some ideas that you might hear and then add to the understanding of the interaction between, or the multiple possible interactions between the humanities and engineering. We might want to think about the perspectives that might be most pertinent for engineering education or certain engineering tasks. And then some of the people at the beginning, we're going to be talking about some obstacles that we've been finding in implementing some of these initiatives. So maybe thinking about ways to overcome those obstacles and sharing some success stories might give other people some ideas. So that's our goal. So we'll come back together after those breakout sessions, we'll share our ideas, and then we can also consider future visions and conclusions. Okay. The topics that we're going to be addressing: important intersections between the humanities and engineering, and humanities engineering institutional pedagogical efforts and institutional hurdles. Those are the first two topics that each group is going to start to talk about, and then we'll move on from there. So welcome and thank you all for joining us today. Oops, I forgot about this. I thought it'd be useful to just remind everyone what the humanities are. So this is one of the many definitions of the humanities: the study and interpretation of language, linguistics, history, jurisprudence, philosophy, archaeology, comparative religion, ethics, the history, criticism, and theory of the arts, those aspects of social sciences which have humanistic content and employ humanistic methods, and the study and application of the humanities to the human environment with particular attention to reflecting our diverse heritage, traditions, and history, and the relevance of the humanities to the current conditions of national life. So with this, we'll start with Auburn University and their ideas.
Okay, great. Thanks for having us. So I'm here with us. You can see Dean Hendricks and Bob Karcher. I'll keep this short because I know a lot of people have to talk here. But yeah, so we had the institution approved a dual degree in German, or a concurrent degree, dual degree in German and engineering in May of 2019. And there were 2 years of work that went into between myself and Bob Karcher and then various other people on the team. But things that we saw we really had in common: obviously intercultural competence. Yeah, so that's what we're about in language teaching, language and culture. But the engineering programs had just recently signed exchange agreements with multiple universities in Germany. So the question of becoming linguistically and interculturally competent became more vital. Also, I think they're very aware in engineering that their students are going to go on to work in multinational industry, right? So they're not working in silos, but rather need to learn how to work with people across difference, across linguistic, cultural, all kinds of difference. So those are some things we really had in common and felt like we could build on. There were several institutional hurdles, one of which is the density of degrees, not just in engineering, but also in German. In benchmarking for this dual degree, I found that our German program actually required 3 to 6 credit hours more than other German programs in the SEC, for example. So what to do with that? Also with a dual degree, scholarship eligibility becomes an issue. So, it's going to, our model curriculum takes 9 semesters, 10, Bob, correct me if I'm wrong. I think, 9 or 10 semesters. And so what to do about scholarships? Then there were turf wars. So in the College of Liberal Arts, we have or actually put it this way, in the College of Engineering, they have a reduced core from what students in our department need to take. So whose core dominates? And then there's the problem, we have the problem of double dipping. We're just not allowed to. So that just makes the whole thing just a tad more difficult. What we're currently doing, also with an NEH grant, so congratulations to you, Lori, because those are a hard one. This semester, and I'll talk about the German Lit class, where we're pairing up literary texts with texts that are more scientifically focused, but focused on the same theme. So today, this semester's theme is Mensch Maschine, or human machine. And so we're getting to look at the themes from completely different angles, which I think the students are really enjoying. And then there's also the Engineering 1110, which is going on this semester. And Dean, do you want to say something about that?
Sure. 1110 is a freshman level project course required of all engineering students at Auburn. And each department offers its own flavor. Our department, computer science and software engineering, we have modified our section so that there's a cultural intelligence component that Tracy's helping to integrate. And we're essentially contextualizing the cultural intelligence information into their project. And so far, we've been really pleased with the results.
Okay, thank you so much. That gives us some good ideas to start with. We'll move on to Missouri Science and Technology with Shannon.
Hi, thank you everyone for joining us, and thank you for inviting me to participate. So one of the things that I wanted to talk about is kind of the unique context I think that we have at Missouri S&T. It's a much smaller school than somewhere like Purdue or Auburn, and we are about 95% STEM focused. So the humanities and the social sciences work very closely together, but they're also a lot smaller than they are at some other places as well. So some of the hurdles that we see often have to do with kind of being very small compared to a very large engineering focus as well. We've certainly tried to focus on areas where we already have strength. At Missouri S&T, we have a lot of engineering programs that work on Latin America. So we focused a lot on Latin American language and culture, and thinking about engineering as not happening in a vacuum. We have a lot of students who participate in Engineers Without Borders and students who have interest in social issues. So we focused on those kinds of ideas of understanding cultural differences in areas that we have strength. When we're thinking about ways that humanities and engineering can intersect, we're also thinking about ways that this can help our humanities students as well, and not just kind of broaden engineering education, but thinking about what technology can mean for humanities students. So we have built something that we're calling the Collaboratory, which is a collaborative space that has a lot of technology in it, but it's ways to think about how we communicate science and technology to wider audiences, how we share our research in engineering with society at large, but also how our humanists can use technology to think about their own research in different ways. In some ways, this is very much related to the Center for Science, Technology, and Society that we've created at Missouri S&T, really bringing people from different research areas across campus together to look at issues and how it affects society and society is affected by changes in technology. And this is kind of maybe the third question, but thinking about ways that we can move forward, we're starting a brand new college, the Comer College of Innovation, Entrepreneurship, and Economic Development. And the idea of this is to take engineering education, but think about how to translate that into business, policy, ethics as well. So it's got a very important humanistic component as well. So we've done quite a few things kind of curriculum wise. We've started a Science, Technology, and Society undergraduate certificate, just 4 courses that students can choose from. History of technology, history of society, history of science, policy courses, and then it includes courses from our engineering departments as well. We have a Latin American Studies for Technical Applications minor. So that again is drawing on our strengths in the Latin America area. This really focuses on culture and language, and it includes a study away portion as well, a foreign study away portion. We have started a global engineering program as well, a dual degree where students get their degree in engineering, as well as a degree in multidisciplinary studies with either a focus on Spanish or French, and then a year abroad with an internship. And then we were also part of a NEH Humanities Connection grant, where we developed 4 courses related to the humanities and Latin America and engineering, which then are part of the LASTA minor and can be used as part of global engineering as well. So some of the hurdles that we found is advertising. How do we let people know about these degrees? How do you recruit people into these kinds of programs? Issues around ideas of rigor and what happens if you include, right? There's sometimes a false dichotomy between humanities and this idea of rigor, and how do you incorporate these courses into rigorous or very large engineering degrees. We also have human and financial resource concerns because we are a smaller humanities departments. We often only have one person who teaches in these areas. So what happens around people's schedules, or if people are on research leave, or if somebody takes a temporary administrative position, how do we continue to offer these classes in ways that students can access them? And then that question of credit hours and double dipping that Tracy brought up as well. How do you make these actually integral parts of degrees, and not just something that's kind of seen as bonus or added on or add more?
Great, thank you so much. Really a lot of different levels of interaction that we can see that's happening at your institution. So we'll move on to Purdue, and I'll start us off here. So with the current work that we're doing, we answering this first question of how do we see the intersections. I mean, there are many, many ways that the humanities come into contact with engineering and should be working together. We, for some of our work, focused on this idea of engineering for people, with people, and as people. And so in that, we can clearly see that definition of the humanities that focuses on the human experience, analyzing the human experience, understanding what it is to be human, and in all the varieties of humans that exist, and how do we interact with our surroundings, that is within engineering. You can't separate the two. So we've taken that and we've tried to say at any point of interaction with people, we must understand the context around it. And we, like some of you, but not all of you, are from languages and cultures. And so this idea of what is culture allows us to explore all of these different levels and intersections within the humanities. And so that's how we see how partially in some of the work that we're doing, how the humanities is connected with engineering. On the other hand, communication, right, and culture from a lot of different perspectives, we include that too. Language study is fundamental to our work with the students in the GEAR program who are doing internships in other countries. And also we're relying on humanities-oriented analyses. And some of my colleagues here will talk a little bit more about that, but how can students gain new ways of analyzing the world through humanities-oriented approaches to analysis?
I think for us at Purdue, what we have been doing to integrate this into our efforts, first, something that we've been doing for a really long time, which is our GEAR program, where students will be able to obtain a minor in global engineering studies through language study, through study abroad, through other experiential learning like internships, design projects. We've continued to build upon that program and implemented courses that really work to develop students' global competency. So a 3-part series of courses that students take prior, during, and when they come back from overseas, but also trying to incorporate other courses that we can push our students to take through the program and potentially even increase their degree options through dual degree programs between engineering and languages. And that's sort of at the forefront of what we're working on right now, is developing courses that can count for both degrees in languages and in engineering, such as a course that we spoke on in a previous session today, which is, we have it titled LC 490, Humanities Informed Engineering. We've been running that as a 1-credit course and looking to expand that to a 3-credit course. We have specialty language courses such as Spanish for engineering and technology, German for engineering and technology, looking for ways that can be that we can beef up those courses so that they can count in both in a language degree and in a engineering degree. And then also implementing more people from the humanities into our education practice. And so we have been for a long time, been very successful in hiring graduate assistants to help with some of our intercultural training courses from the School of Languages and Culture in our GEAR program. And very recently been able to work together between the School of Languages and Cultures and the College of Engineering to hire a faculty member that's 50-50 between School of Languages and Cultures and Purdue. Happened to be a very special person who had a career in engineering and was here teaching Spanish, and we're able to put him in between both places. And pass it on to one of the great graduate assistants that we've had in our program. Niall can talk about some of the things that he's been helping us to implement more into our coursework. So.
Yeah, thanks, Joe. So I am a PhD candidate, final year in the Spanish and Portuguese department, along with Laurie. And so as part of my work with the GEAR program, I was undertaking the redesign of the pre and post study abroad courses. And that's kind of in conjunction with the work that's already been undertaken on LC 490. To kind of, as it says here, to incorporate case studies into engineering projects with kind of more human-centric focus. One of the things that I've been trying to do with the course redesign is to still focus on intercultural competency development and intercultural skills, but doing so through a cultural and literary studies perspective. So that has included incorporating literature into the classroom to look at perspective taking, but also organizing the course around a post-colonial framework. So linking up students' local surroundings, how they understand themselves in their local context, but then within a larger kind of more globalized framework that we live in as a society at large. And then alongside that, I've incorporated my own research in environmental justice and racism as well to think about equity, equality and diversity in engineering, and then incorporate that more into praxis-oriented skill development, right? So how how does all of this actually lead to better teamwork or to kind of more cohesive projects, as well as to building on the kind of systems level thinking that engineering students already have built into their programs too.
And then I can mention real quickly some of the hurdles we find are similar hurdles to what was mentioned before, especially by Shannon, figuring out academic rigor for the courses that we want to be in between sort of the School of Languages and Culture and Engineering. In advertising at a very large place like Purdue, how do we get students interested in this? How do we find the students early on? Especially because when they get here their first year, it's sometimes hard to incorporate languages into that first year curriculum. How do we identify those and get to know all of the academic advisors and all of the people that are involved in all of the processes with students, so everybody's sort of on the same page about the variety of options that we have.
Thank you. Our final group, and don't worry about the time, we're doing fine on time, is from the University of Rhode Island.
Thank you so much. So my name is Megan Echevarria, and these ideas were developed as a group, but I'm going to be speaking for all of us just to maximize our time. We wanted to begin thinking about the intersections from a more global perspective, and the idea of experiencing the humanities as something that expands our most basic understanding of what humanity is and what the world is. It's through humanistic content, that we learn about the myriad ways of being human, of being members of different groups, of belonging to a culture, understanding how that culture interacts with other cultures, and becoming engaged and committed citizens in an organization, in a city, in a country, and in a very complex and very interconnected world. So it's through humanistic methods of inquiry that we also learn how to question ourselves and question others, interrogate our own assumptions and those of others. We learn to differentiate both theoretically and also practically between hearing ideas and consuming messages, and actually listening, reading, and processing ideas and messages critically and analytically. And humanities also makes us more purposeful and more compelling in our own use of language. And it helps us develop our innate potential for creation and for innovation. The humanities also bring us into direct contact with all kinds of diversities, makes us more cognizant of the very notion of difference. They make us more capable of gracefully navigating situations in which differences arise, and also more appreciative of the value of difference. So the integrative impact of the humanistic study is significant. More humanists in our worlds means more equitable worlds. And it means worlds with expanded access to important immaterial and material opportunities. So a lot of times when people talk about focusing on the technical preparation of engineers and the technical components of engineering education, they invoke this term relevance. So my question would be to those people, is it relevant for engineers to possess strong critical thinking and discernment skills? Is it relevant for them to be able to communicate lucidly and articulately? Is it relevant for engineers to stretch the limits of their own thinking, to become more creative and to innovate? Is it relevant for engineers to possess and demonstrate awareness of and respect for difference, and the ability to negotiate across differences and appreciate different lived experiences and perspectives? And is it relevant for engineers to gain equitable access to opportunities, access to socioeconomic mobility, and access to more meaningful and impactful lives? I think it is. So at URI, we're already known for our international engineering program, and we're known for our accomplishments, integrating STEM into foreign language education and retaining engineers in a foreign language curriculum that is very firmly grounded in the humanities. Now, what we're focusing on is working to strengthen the humanistic content and methods in our language for special purpose courses and also in engineering courses. We were also previously known for global engagement and immersion opportunities that we designed for our students. And now we're aiming to seize more other unique opportunities for local, civic, interdisciplinary, and intercultural engagement and immersion for them. We were previously known for seminars and workshops that we've given at this very colloquium for foreign language and literature practitioners interested in integrating elements of our work into their own teaching practice. Now we're planning to undergo intense collaborative faculty development together with our colleagues in our College of Engineering. So the hurdles we face are significant because the US higher education system, the value system, is brimming with contradictions. We have administrators and major funding agencies that commend the significant and very real impacts of humanistic education, and they show what I believe is very sincere appreciation for the critical importance of the humanities today. But the current reward system actively discourages interdisciplinary collaboration and integration of the humanities into STEM fields. Rewards for faculty effort determine how people strategically choose to focus their time and work. That is logical. When a public institution receives less than 10% of its operating budget from public funds, and as a result functions with an acute dependence on both tuition and externally funded research dollars, the imperative for faculty who have access to large external grants is to secure as many of those research dollars as possible. So we believe that motivating change in this kind of resistant system is very challenging.
Thank you, Megan, and your whole group. Really thought-provoking ideas and definitely moving us to think about that question 3. What is the future need? Where do we need to go? So it is currently 2:07, and we want to go to some breakout rooms. We have 45 people with us. Maybe we can go into about 8 rooms, Brian, and 2:07, 2:27. Let's just go for about 6 minutes. We'll go for 6 minutes. When you hear the message to come back, please come on back. If you're, participating with us, feel free to participate in the breakout rooms, but also feel free to just hang out there. I know everyone's busy with some other things going on, but come back to the final discussion with us. So just hang on there. Please feel free to participate. And all right, so we have this is idea. Yeah, let's just go into 40 people. Let's just go into about 7 different rooms then. All right, welcome back, everyone. We have a few minutes here to address either future directions where we think we should be moving, maybe at your institutional levels or as a group of people in general who are thinking about this topic of the intersection between the humanities and engineering. And so I would just invite anyone who wants to share some piece of information that came from your breakout session with the whole group. Please feel free. You can use the raise hand function. Snezana? You're muted, Snezana.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I was in the group with Bing and Sid, and I think Bing is from Languages and Cultures and Sid is from Engineering Education. I was very surprised that engineering education is like, well, basically that's humanities plus engineering for me, the major itself. And we were talking about like empathy in engineering and being human as an engineer, and being like a kind of a citizen and an engineer at the same time. So kind of like how humanities and engineering kind of work in the in one single person. So that's my takeout from them.
Thank you so much. Thanks for sharing that. That's a nice take-home message that we can all apply, and I think everyone could apply. Right?
Thank you.
Anyone else want to share something from their breakout groups? Mark?
Yes, briefly, we talked about collaborations with industry. That was an area that maybe we found somewhat missing, that a lot of programs work with industry, but we were wondering what the potential was for more collaboration and articulation of humanities and cultural issues. And we talked about our students sort of being ambassadors, that it works both ways. A lot of our programs have CEOs or corporate executives who come to campus and talk with our students. And many of them have what I would call humanities or cultural sensitivity and have had incredible experience working throughout the world. But they're also very interested in our students who have language experience working across cultures on study abroad, and they want to recruit those students to work in their companies because they see them as very valuable assets actually to their corporate culture and adding diversity to that culture. And so one issue that was raised in the group was also assisting students in articulating what they learned in their academic and personal experience, not only study abroad, but internships, their whole experience in languages and cultures, but also in engineering, and being able to be more specific in articulating beyond I went on study abroad program or had an experience and it was awesome. You know, what was it in particular? What were the values that you learned about? So anyway, that's part of what we discussed.
Thank you. And I'll use that to plug the third event in this speaker and discussion series is tomorrow morning, I believe at 9:30 in the morning. And we're having 3 representatives from industry who are these types of people that you're talking about. They have global experiences working with diverse people on diverse initiatives, and they're going to address this topic. So we can hear from them what their perspective is. And I also heard you talking about, for me, what is human contact, right? That the industry members come to campus. Our students also go as ambassadors of where they come from, their institutions, their countries. And so this forces us to think about the multiple types of interactions we have, even sometimes across some power differentials where interaction can be more difficult. Okay, Megan, and I think this will be our last comment probably, before we close out.
So I just wanted to say that I was very excited to be in a room with 2 of your students. I was with Charlotte and Jude, and it was a really lovely reminder of why we do this and why this is so important. And your students are incredibly inspiring, and they don't want to just be engineers. They want to be humanists and engineers for very good, well-founded reasons. And you're very lucky to be able to work with them.
Thank you. In our group as well, we were talking about what is it that students want? What do engineering students want? And so I asked this question of some of our colleagues in engineering who are here. And they did say that this is a new generation where we are talking about STEAM, where we are talking about diverse development as humans. So with that, thank you all for being here. Thank you for pushing these ideas forward a little bit with us. And hopefully we can find more spaces to collaborate as time goes on. Thank you.